Okay, so first of all, welcome back to the Motor Trade Mentor channel. I am delighted to welcome back young Sam from the Family Car Guy, who we had back on the 28th of August. So realistically, what we're going to do today is we're going to have a recap on what Sam's been up to, how well he's getting on or isn't, and hopefully if he wants to ask us more questions, he can. But I really want this to be a highlight of success or failures, so we can go into each and every bit as much as we can, and just generally like to basically, I think, to see to everybody that maybe what we're doing is a good thing or a bad thing, but I think the next hour should help us find out. So main thing to do, if you can give us a little intro on yourself again, Sam, and just let us know how you're feeling about everything, and then we're just going to dive in and ask you a load of questions, because we're excited to know what you've been up to as much as you're probably excited to tell us. So go.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks for having me on. And no, when was it? August last year. So I think I started everything in May, just with a car or two. And I think in August, I had sort of 3, maybe 4 cars going on at home. I was operating out of my driveway at home. And I don't really do things in halves, really. And I never drink a half a pint. It's always a pint. So my father always said, never trust a man that drinks halves. And I thought, well, we're really going to go for this. And just on the school run, one morning, I passed this converted barn. And it was a converted barn. And I looked in and I thought, cripes, look at that parking space there. It's unbelievable. So looked it up. It was 500 quid a month. And I called up the landlord, who was the Duke of Somerset here. And I said, look, Your Dukeness, I'd really like to rent this office, but there's a whopping great big car parking space there, and I would like to put some cars on there. And he said, all right then, well, how many cars do you want? And I said, 10. And he went, all right then. So he allowed me to put, and he even said, well, why don't you have this little area around the corner so it's not seen from the main road, for security reasons. That's quite a good option, being quite rural. So for 500 quid a month, I had a lovely converted barn office.
It does look like you're in the pub. I was going to ask, are there a couple of taps in the background? Are we in a pub?
Well, I got some nice seating area, what have you, but yeah.
That is a bloody impressive office.
Well, that's another point, because when I started this, I wanted it to be different, and I wanted it to, the family car guy, a local chap selling good, reliable cars. And I wanted the experience for the customer to be different. So we got in this lovely converted barn, and I had a furniture business before I did this. So I kitted it out with all sorts of, furniture. And there was an expense there. And as an expense I really didn't really want to spend, but I thought it was an investment in the brand. So now when people come in, they go, oh, this is lovely, and don't expect this from a car dealership, and they sit down, I sit in there, and I give them a cup of coffee, and I would chat through everything, and try and hook them there. But then just outside are all the cars. So we've got this place for 500 quid a month, and there's another 150 or so for extra maintenance on the outside. So it all looks pretty and lovely and everything. And then so we filled that up with 12 cars or so, because we had the space. And then I said, look, there's another slot up there. Can we have another bit of parking? And he went, all right. So we got another 12, 13 slots for no more money.
Bloody hell.
Wow.
I've now got the capacity for 25-ish cars, 25 cars for 500 plus another, call it another couple hundred quid with all the other bits and bobs.
That's probably the cheapest, best looking area in the whole of the Southwest for the smallest amount of money.
That's picturesque. And obviously, for some of you that don't know, Sam's got his own YouTube channel, and it's called What's on Court. Is that correct?
What's on Court, all one word, yeah.
Okay, so from my personal perspective, I love the theme tune music to it because it feels like I'm about to watch an episode of Grand Designs, and it brushes over all the area of the thing, and like it does look fantastic. And it is a real. I would class this as a real success story and a perfect example of why sometimes you just got to ask. The worst thing is somebody just saying no to you. Do you mind if I have that for £500 a month? Well, yeah, go on then.
You've got to ask. You've got to ask. This was just an office bill. And I remember when I did document this on one of my first ever videos, and they were saying, have you got permission? Can you have a car dealership there and all that sort of stuff? I went through all of that. Yes, absolutely fine. But yes, ask.
And I guess if you're not causing them any hassle, and you've made the office look nice, and if you're keeping it neat and tidy, then there's going to be no issues, is there?
Yeah. There are 4 offices here, so we've got one of them, and there's a separate car parking area for the other offices. And I said, look, we're not going to have bangers. We're not going to be have cars up on bricks with wheels off them and bits everywhere. It's and that's been like that. So, and it's worked really well. So really chuffed, really good.
So I am on your website at the moment, and I can see on here 11 vehicles currently. You got a couple of them due in, and I think so when you started off in August, you had 1 or 2 vehicles.
Yeah.
Forgive my maths, but I'm looking at about £150,000 worth of vehicles there, and a really nice selection of kit. So bravo, fine sir. That is quite the effort, and I'm extremely impressed. I'm disappointed that I wasn't on the original episode, but at the same time, I have followed it, and Sam and I have been chatting not on off the YouTube channel. We've got a little group chat that we've got, and I'm just delighted to see it. Like it's just so refreshing to see somebody else having a go, and it pays off.
Absolutely. Well, I think the stock profile we've got at the moment isn't going to be our core profile moving forward. We're still figuring stuff out. So, as you know, when you have a business, you test, and that testing never ends. So when I started, I thought, right, if we're going to do it, let's go and let's get the sort of stock profile that cars that I would like to drive, and cars that I think our local punters in our local area, can't really call them punters, call them customers in our local area, would want to drive.
But you are doing it from a pub-esque place, so you could get away with punters, couldn't you?
Could get away with punters. So it was really, yes, and I had to bite the bullet, and I did want to get an Auto Trader package because I wanted the data. And to get advertising, I needed to get the ball rolling with advertising. Looking ahead, I don't want to be using Auto Trader later on down the line. And you know exactly why, James. You've done it yourself and you're doing it very successfully. Develop a brand locally. So we're in all the local directories. We've got our adverts on the fuel pumps at Morrison's in Totnes, which is
lovely.
In the morning. Totnes has a huge amount of footfall through that petrol station. So we're on there.
Going back to the Auto Trader thing, obviously I've come on here and I've been extremely vocal on my thoughts around Auto Trader. In and around starting up, I don't think it is the worst idea, and I don't think it's a terrible product for that, because people do look on Auto Trader. It is one of the biggest platforms out there, and I agree with it. The bit that I struggle with is when people get to a certain point where they've become a sustainable business, they then move in to a point where it almost engulfs their business, and when they're paying more in their fees than they are their rent for their building, that's the cusp point where I think that they should be reassessing whether they actually need it or not. So where you are at the moment, I think it's absolutely fine and it's great, but when it's coming to that point where you're paying more in advertising for that specific product than what you're paying to be where you are for the whole site, that's when you should reassess as to what is the right package. But I've got a feeling I can see that Theo's got an opinion and an Auto Trader sticker in the background, just for me, for my benefit.
Our package is more than our rent, and has been for a few years. It works for us, and there's no, James James is very strong with his opinion on it, and I'm strong with my opinion on it. It works for us for the type of cars that we sell, the type of customers that we've got. It works because my older customers, most of them are 60 plus. If they have figured out how to use the internet, they've figured out how to. Auto Trader is the one thing they know. So a lot of our customers come from that. James sells slightly different types of cars in a slightly different way, and social media works for him, for his client base. I think you have to take it as it. You have to do what's right for you. Auto Trader is a good tool, like you say, for all the sort of figures and everything that it gives you and the insight into stuff. Whether that insight is true and whether the figures they give you are the real world, who knows? But it's a useful tool to have, and it's an expensive tool. It works for us. It might not work for the type of cars that you end up selling, Sam. It might, if James changed his stock profile, it might work better.
Have you had much off YouTube, Sam? Because obviously, I think you get quite a sensible amount of views on there. Do you get many people that have come and bought a car off you that have watched your channel?
There's lots of people who approached me and said we'd really like to buy a car, and I think we have sold a car, but we're buying cars off people from YouTube now. I think this Friday I'm going up to Reading or something like that to go and pick up a Nissan Qashqai at a really good price, and it's worth my while going up there and meeting the chap and bringing it down, and it doesn't need
paid
much.
for day out, new experiences.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, I'm having a day out. I'm going to go out and I'm coming back with Michelle, and I are going to come back and spend the night in a place called the Beckford Arms, possibly one of the nicest pubs in the country.
And whereabouts is that? I need to write it down. I've got a little tally sheet of pubs that I need to work my way through.
Any of you chaps going up the A303, Font Hill, Gifford, there's the Beckford Arms. Absolute belter. It really is. It's an absolute cracker. So we're going to pick the car up and then go and have a night there, Friday night, and then get back and I guess edit this week's video. But just going back to the whole Auto Trader thing, I'm getting really, really pissed off with Auto Trader now because they're starting to dictate price valuations of cars, and where I had a good car at a good price, it just keeps flying into the fair price. And I'm like, well, hang on a second, because I know this car is a really good car for people here, and
the trick. I wouldn't worry too much about the price mark. The price markers are there for a guide for the customer.
That's where Theo lives. Theo lives in the.
I live in fair
in the
price.
high zone.
I live in fair price.
You live in fair price.
Yeah,
too.
just because the cars are if you know your car's prepped well, you know your local area, you know what's going to sell in your local area. Don't get too hung up on the price markers.
But Theo, do you have quite a lot of walk-in trade?
No.
So it is purely like online. So you don't get people coming, having a look around your stock and going.
We do a lot of repeat business now because we've been here for sort of 12 years. So a lot of people are on their 4th, 5th cars. We've got a workshop that's attached, or our own workshop on site. So a lot of it is through service work and that sort of thing. So we get a lot of repeat business, but everything else is online. We don't get a lot of, we're by appointment, so we don't get a lot of walk-in trade at all, really.
Right. Okay.
But the price, if the cars are prepped well, photographed well, nice ownership, nice history, people will pay. Maybe don't have too many in the sort of higher price bracket, but in the fair price bracket, people will pay the money for the right car if it's prepped right, I think. But I wouldn't get too hung up on it.
Well, maybe I shouldn't then.
Because otherwise, it's a race to the bottom. If you're always fighting to be in that good price, great price, you end up just wrestling with all the car supermarkets and all that sort of thing just to get the prices to the bottom.
So obviously we had a brief chat off camera. So since I think this year, I think it's kicked off really well for you. I think you've done over 10 deals already this month.
Yeah, in the last 30 days, I was just looking at it yesterday, last 30 days, not this month in January, although we've got some coming through at the moment, but last 30 days, we've done 10, which is
fantastic.
Which I'm really quite chuffed about, and we haven't lost money on any of these cars. And, when we buy the cars, we make sure we've got the right margins and what have you. And we need to keep that momentum going, really.
If you can do a stock turn if you can do a stock turn in 30 days, that's pretty bloody good, isn't it, James?
Fantastic. Yeah, that's all. I would say that's the holy grail of like a benchmark. When you get to a point when you can turn your whole stock within 30 days, most main dealers are looking for like 60, 70% turnover. To be in your position and do 100% stock turnover is fantastic. Like you should have a proper
it's not quite 100% stock turnover, but yeah, it's close to it. But yeah, I think now we're down to, I think James, well, you know better than I do. You just look, I think we're down to 11 or something. Is it 11?
Yeah. All right, 90% then. You've done a 90% aggressive, and we've got 2 days left of the month. I think the magic could be upon us. Most people in the public sector got paid on the 25th. A lot of other people will be getting paid tomorrow.
Yeah, there is that. Yeah, and I'm yet to see the trends during the year. You see, so you know, I don't know what's going to happen over the next couple of months. You know, I understand that it can get quite busy over the next 2 or 3 months before Easter, but
do you have a finance license yet?
No.
Is that something you're looking at, or?
No.
Are you reading? You're watching a lot of chops, aren't you? Is anti-finance?
Yeah, no, yeah. Well, I've had my previous business were all FCA regulated and everything, and we thought, right, we're gonna double our turnover if we have offer finance. So we did it, and no one even bloody asked for it. So far, every car we've sold, you know, obviously we don't offer finance, so no finance is offered. But you know, none of those people have said. Well, a couple of them have said, do you do finance? And there is a broker I can put them in touch with. But they've all gone, you know what, we'll just pay it.
When, are you looking to, because like looking on your website now, obviously it's a lot of SUV type stuff that's around, I guess, everything seems to be sort of between 10 and 20 grand. If you're going to be, is your plan to carry on doing stuff that sort of value?
Not really. I mean, again, testing. You know, we've had some bigger cars with bigger margins, and you know, they've been and gone. We had an Audi Q7 that came in and went. So we were trying the higher end, the middle and the lower end, and now we're just going to start to, you know,
fine tune it.
Yeah, fine tune it.
Well, I think if the stuff's going to be, you know, if the majority of the stuff's going to be, say, 15 to 20 grand, I would think it might be valuable to get FCA.
Yeah, yes, if we were going to stick at that
Not
level,
just because it will help you sell cars, but also it's an income, it's an extra income as well. If people are taking the finance through you, then obviously, you know, it does help on the bottom line at the end of the year.
Yeah, and I think, well, yeah, we did. I think Close Brothers with what was it we were doing? Oh yeah, I did inquire about some stocking finance. Not that we need it as such, but as an option and just testing the waters there. And I think we're actually signed up. We haven't used it yet, and actually I've negotiated for us not to be charged for not using it. And after our James, we had a chat about this at the beginning of the year, didn't we?
Yeah.
When I went to auction, and you were, and I was saying to James, I just don't understand how all these car dealers are, you know, buying all this stock with bugger all margins, which I just can't compete. I just can't compete buying stock like that.
The problem with auction is obviously they vary so much, and you never really know why they're paying so much money above and beyond. Like, for the normal user, when you go to auction, you've got like they give us a list of roughly what the car should be going for 3 stages. So average, below average, and then clean, which is the tops level. So, and then you've got the difference between clean and retail. You're normally looking at about between £2,000 to £3,000. We're seeing cars going through auction above the £2,000 to £3,000 mark. So we're looking at it going, well, not only by the time we've paid the auction fees, which are anything between £300 and £700, depending on the value of the vehicle that we've purchased, we're then in a position like, how is that person selling that car and making money? And this is the problem that we're faced with as dealers. But my answer to that is you'll never really know what their story is. All you got to do is just focus on doing what you're doing, all right, and carry on with it and just be like, well, that's an odd one. Hopefully that doesn't happen all again. If it happened on every vehicle, then we'd be in real trouble. But sometimes some vehicles, you never know. Like if your wife said to you, like, do you know what? I really want a Mercedes GLC and I want one in white. I want a pan roof, and it comes through auction. You're going to pay over the odds for it. You know, these things do happen, and there are some dealers that go in and buy personal vehicles, or they'll buy a car to order knowing what they can charge for it, and they will charge £2,000 over book for it. And it does happen out there. And in the area that you're in at the moment, obviously you're quite rural, it's more likely to happen where you live than, say, a little bit further up the line in Birmingham, because the cars are more readily available. So it's much more likely to happen down here in Mannheim, Plymouth, than it would further up the line in, say, Bradford.
We speak on a Wednesday morning quite regularly, don't we, James? About we're both sitting on Mannheim, Plymouth, and we're looking
to figure out what everyone's doing.
We're looking at different sort of different levels of stock and so on. But we're both struggling. Like I got one last week, and it was it arrived yesterday. I think I've got £1,300 starting it on a car that's 14 grand out the door.
Again, like what people don't realise is how much, because obviously another thing to mention for Theo is obviously Theo's very lucky where they actually own the building that they're in and they physically own their stock. So obviously it's a beautiful position to be in.
We don't own the building, James.
Do you not?
No. We're on a lease.
Right.
We have got the option to purchase at the end, but yeah, we are renting. But we do own our stock. Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously they're in a position where, imagine if not only did you have a £1,300 margin, you still had borrowed that money on top of it as well. Like you come to sell that car, you'd be fighting over 20, 30, £50 notes to turn over a single car, and then one warranty claim and you're toast, aren't you?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But, you know, this is what we got to do. You might get a lovely part exchange in against in it, and that could be that £1,300 could turn into £5,000.
That's what when you're starting, that's the bit, because you only look at the car you're selling. Now we look at it as a much broader picture. So you're looking at, well, if we sell it on finance, especially the car's only 4 years old. So if we sell it on finance on a 4-year deal, then we'll make whatever, 400 or 500 quid on the finance commission. Then they might have a part exchange that might be, so the retail car's 14 grand, but the part exchange might come in and retail at maybe 8 grand or 9 grand, and we'll actually make the money on the part exchange rather than the. So I think you have to look at it as the buy-in is really, really expensive anywhere at the minute, and it's always the way this time of year. But I think you have to look at it as a broader, because otherwise you'd never buy anything. You'd be scared of buying anything ever, because you'd just be like, well, there's not 2.5 grand in that, so I'm not buying it. Well, I wouldn't be able to stock 40 cars, and James wouldn't be able to stock 60 cars. It'd just be impossible, wouldn't it? So you have to look at the broad picture.
Have you had many fun part exchanges, Sam?
Yeah, I've had some wicked part exchanges.
Do you tell? I'm interested, because like, my favourite thing is when you get a fucking weirdo and like the stuff that you find inside these part exchanges. Like we turfed one out the other day and we found a set of Jeffrey Dahmer glasses, and the valeters were wearing them around for days. Like obviously it was the highlight of their week. So like there's some of the stuff that you find, and like some of the cars that turn up, you're like, well, how did somebody buy that new? You know, why would they do that? But yeah, so I'm interested. What sort of stuff did you get?
I had so I bought early days. I bought a Discovery Sport because I thought, all right, it's slightly it's retailing at around £14,000, and I thought, well, we could get a nice part exchange in for someone, a little Nissan Qashqai, and sure enough, the person who bought the Discovery Sport part exchanged a Nissan Qashqai. I think I gave them £4 grand for it. And then I put it up for 7.5 or something like that. Came and bought that Nissan Qashqai, and then part exchange a Ford Fiesta ST.
Oh wow! So you triple bubbled there.
Yeah, gold. And then and that had 22,000 miles on it. It retailed at 12,000 quid. So he came in. I ended up so the Nissan Qashqai was about 7.5 or 8 grand or come. I gave him £1,000 or something like that, with the Part X to take his Ford Fiesta, and then sold that Ford Fiesta ST for 11.5 grand. So that whole deal,
It's a whopper.
was an absolute cracker. It was an absolute belt. So, and that's why I thought, right, I like these Discovery Sports, and people around here like them. Auto Trader give them a great rate. I know they're horribly problematic, but over the time, every time I've had one in, I've sold one, and I've usually got a good Part X on it. So it's a great value car to get a nice little Part X for just that level below.
I see you've got a couple. You've got a couple at the moment, haven't you?
I've got 2 at the moment. Yeah, 2.
And a Jag with the same engine, by the looks of it.
Yeah, so those I bought at Mannheim.
Love a Jag.
So those I bought at Mannheim when everyone was buying, hoovering up all the small stuff. And I just can't compete with this. There was a Discovery Sport sitting in the corner, and no one was looking at it. I'm sure there's lots of people looking at it online, but it had a shitty report, and it had a rattle here and a smoky engine there or something like that. And I said, well, I'm not going to be afraid of that, because you're going to bring some beans to me a bit later on. So I went over to it, and I thought, well, okay, that rattle's definitely the heat shield, because I've had that in the past. It's not the chain, because I know the sound of the chain. And then the smoky thing, I think, and I had a look at the back of the exhaust, and no soot in there. So I think this just hasn't been run for a while. So it went through, no one touched it. I think I got it for 10 grand, and it retails at 16.5. And I've given it its full service. It's got good service history as well. Had the heat shield tightened up. And that's the one coming. It's on the website at the moment. But it's, the pictures are coming. It's just in the body shop at the moment, having a couple of dents taken out, but
making it look superb. But you got another one on there as well. Like I really like the colour. Like I'm a secret. So my brother used to be a motor trader, and he always used to say to me, James, whatever you do, don't buy red or green cars. Well, as soon as I started, I absolutely binned that off. And there are some green cars out there that do look genuinely lovely, and that is one of those green colours that I do.
Yeah. The one I was
it.
talking about is a grey one, which is being uploaded soon. But that green one was another great buy. I think I got that for about 6 grand.
Such good value.
And
look at that.
It is great value, but it's if you know what you're looking for, because on the report it says a rattle here, rattle there. It tends to put people off those cars, and but
a lot of them are 7-seaters as well. Those Discovery Sports, aren't they?
Yeah, but it doesn't put me off. It sort of perks me up.
Do you physically see every car before you buy them?
I have been, except apart from the last one. In fact, that green one, I didn't see that one. I did a bit of a James. I did an armchair trade on that one.
I have been encouraging him to do sometimes, like especially when it's really cold, especially if you've only got 4 or 5 cars on a list of 170. Sometimes it is safer to do it from your armchair, as long as you're prepared to do a little bit of work and due diligence. So turns out that it paid off, and we're like, ta-da! Yeah.
Well, I'll have to be careful now, because if people see this and then see me at Mannheim bidding on a Discovery Sport, they're gonna run me up.
I don't know. I don't think there's going to be hundreds of people bidding on Discovery Sports, to be fair.
Like I said, people do watch this, and they do sort of, they will jump on it. But obviously, it's a much wider audience that we go to anyway. But I think everyone, there's enough there for everyone if everyone wanted to have a little go themselves.
And I don't mind the risk, as long as my risk is covered.
Yeah, of course.
So worst case scenario, if it has to have a new engine or whatever, or a new DPF, I've either still got a bit of a margin, or I just get wipe my face and
you can still get out of it.
Yeah, still get out. But the margin has got to be there. So I'm really margin focused on everything I buy at the moment. Everything.
Yeah, because it is a numbers game sometimes. You've got, like you said, if you go, right, I'm going to buy 5-6 Discovery Sports, I'm well aware that one of them might have a catastrophic engine failure, I'm still on the right side of the green and I will go again. And I like selling them and they're nice cars. And that makes a great deal of sense, especially with your demographic. It's, it sounds like the right thing to do for you.
Yeah. And I think when I started this and when I started the business and wanted to really get going quickly, the best thing to do was to fail quickly, test stuff, figure things out. If it doesn't work, great, it hasn't worked. Now let's readjust and do something else, and that's and not being afraid to give things a go. And I've jumped into the Discovery Sports, and the first Discovery Sport I had to replace the DPF. Right, okay, I understand what's involved with replacing a DPF now. I now know what to, I now know what margin I need if I look at the report. That could be a DPF. Well, if I have to do that, it's that. Just learning and learning and learning and learning. When you start trading quite a few different cars, you really get to know them really well.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I know that Discovery, the 18 plate Discovery Sports, their chains are better, and and the things to look out for, all the bits and bobs that go wrong, the bloody doors locking or don't lock, or another thing that they're crap for. But fail fast, learn, make mistakes. And
it's picking up, and it just comes with experience, doesn't it? The more cars you have, especially if you stick to a certain type of cars, you pick up all the common faults, don't you? And then you just know how to, how much it's going to cost you to get around it, or what you have to do with each one, and that only comes with experience, which none of us can teach each other. It's just you have to just do it, don't you?
No, and I didn't know bloody anything about cars when I started.
This brings me on to my magical question for you. So, do you feel like a car dealer now?
Well,
when we first started, I obviously when I watched the first video, you had like the little bit of the rabbit in headlights, like what on earth have I done? What world have I jumped into? But now you seem really confident in what you're doing, how you're doing it. So, do you think you feel like a car dealer now? Do you think that this is what you should have done in the first place? Do you love it?
Well, I'll answer your first question, Jays. Do I feel like a car dealer? Damn right I do.
Yes, come on.
Damn right I do. Yeah.
You just walk up the main street in Totnes now and they're like, that's a car dealer. You can see that walk.
That's it, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm all over the fuel pumps with a flat cap, going,
And this guy is for you.
I noticed though, James, he's still not got a big old watch on yet. So that's the full car dealer uniform hasn't been quite completed.
Oh yeah. Well, to be fair, I've got non-fancy watchings.
Watches. What is it with car dealers and watches? I mean, they don't really.
It used to be a thing. It was shoes, watches, and anything shiny. Basically, they tried to dress themselves up like a magpie, but now I think modern culture has taken it away from that and drawn us away from that Terry Tibbs attitude. Whereas I'd probably say 10 years ago, you were expected as a car dealer. So if someone turned up on your forecourt, you'd expected to be wearing a shirt and tie. Now, if you wore a shirt and tie, people would be offended. So it's the polar opposite.
Yeah, I agree.
If you don't look approachable now, big no-no. Theo will tell you actively that he'll wear flip-flops in the summer. He'll check his give a fuckometer. There'll be nothing on it. And he'll just be dancing around the forecourt because he's just a bloke. That is the realism of it. And I think customers now expect us to be normal people. They want to be sold a car by a normal person. And we encourage that where we are. Yeah, a little bit of logos and stuff like that. No harm done. Also, no harm if you haven't got it either. But they just want to be sold to by a normal person.
Yeah. I mean, in my setup, it wasn't really the case. Right, we're going to get logoed stuff up. We're going to, it's just be as we are. That's that. I think people buy from people. If you try and look and pretend to be someone else, then it's not really going to work.
The amount of people we get in and they say, oh well, we've been to I don't know, one of the car supermarkets, and it's just as soon as they walk in, they're pounced on by these guys with the suits on, and it's really. Whereas if they come here, they can have a chat, and if they don't buy, they don't buy. If they do buy, fantastic. And it's just to be honest, we don't really talk about the cars very much. Quite honestly, we talk about their lives and what they do, and that's the interesting part I find, is actually just talking to these other people, and you get to meet all kinds of interesting people. And I expect, James, you really get to meet all kinds of very interesting people in your neck of the woods. But
we're next to a pub, so like, it's, even if I wanted to go and just chat some lunatic, bearing in mind they open it at 11 o'clock in the morning, like, you know, if I want a bit of spice in my life, I'll just walk over there and have a game of darts.
But you do get people that will want to tell you their whole bloody life story.
Oh yeah,
and you know, you gotta listen. You've
got no choice but to listen. If you want them to sign, that's it. You've got to.
Absolutely, yes, yeah. So tell me about that a bit more.
There is something that my, you know, many moons ago that I got mentioned to when I sort of first started into car dealing. Obviously, there's the two most expensive purchases in your life are purchasing a vehicle and purchasing your first house, or any house of any variety. And unfortunately, the emotion that goes with that will come with both the sale and the, you know, buying process, or anything that goes wrong along that line. And unfortunately, like I said, if there's a story, they want a service from you. They might want to come in and be in and out of there as quickly as possible. But at the same time, if they're spending, it could be what they've taken the last 10 years to save, they want to know a bit about you, and they want to tell you about them. And that is something that, like you said, you're just going to have to endure. And I'd probably say 9 times out of 10, we really enjoy it.
Yeah.
I enjoy it.
You know, we've met some fantastic people that, like, and like, by face value, you couldn't tell it. When we first started, we had it was a 2.7 Land Rover Discovery, and at the time it was 5-6 years old. It was the most expensive car in my forecourt by a country mile, and we hadn't really had that much interest in it. And this guy came in, and he had purple trousers on, purple corduroy trousers, this weird shirt, and like a waxy sort of coat, and he smelt like piss. There's no other way to do it. He smelt like piss. Like, I think he had pissed himself. I don't know. But he was looking at this Land Rover that we had, and one of my salesmen completely poo-pooed him. They're like, "Oh, it's a local tramp." And I was like, "Nah, like, that's how wealthy people dress, you know, and like eccentric wealthy people, they wear what the fuck they like, do what the fuck they like, drive what the fuck they like." And I was like, I'm going to try and make an example of this. I thought I knew better, and it turns out I did. The guy had the cash in his pocket for the car, and he wanted it there and then. We sat him in the car. Yeah, you know, yeah, he might smell a little bit, but like, that it can be cleaned. He sat in the car and he said, "This is for me." And he gave me a bag of cash, which was the exact amount of what he's seen it on the internet. He was like, "Can you do all the paperwork? I'm going to take it today." And he took it.
Yeah. Never judge a book.
Yeah.
You'll never know. But my salesman was like distraught. And I was like, that's an important lesson that you've got to have there. That people,
you've got to have that. You've got to have that intuition, haven't you? About
yeah, never judge these people. Like, if they look homeless, like, they might have all the money, they might have won the lottery. You just don't know, and you'll never really know what's going on in their lives. And sometimes, like you said, you've just got to do a little bit of counselling and just give them what they need.
Just digressing slightly, Sam. Do you run your own warranty pot? How does it work with? I'm just thinking of these kind of cars that you're selling that there could be potential for.
Yeah. With the bigger stuff, the like the Discovery Sports, I do warranty with a company, and it also depends on their location as well.
Yeah.
So anything fairly close, low mileage, I think, yeah, I'll self warrant that. You know, that's I've no problem doing that. Anything a bit bigger, a little bit more problematic, I'll get a company on board, and just for the sake of if the margins in it, you know, it might cost me 150 quid or 200 quid or whatever to get a belt and braces warranty package for them. I'll put that through a company. So I'm using 2020 warranty at the moment. I've not had a warranty claim yet.
That's good.
I've never heard of them before, but
no, I
I'm
haven't.
going to write it down anyway.
I've not had a warranty claim on any of the cars yet.
And then you've got a good workshop that you've got a good relationship with that you use. Or?
Yeah, I mean, I've got a couple of garages that I use. I'll only send some cars into one and some into the other, because I know what. Yeah. One's better than one's just good for servicing and MOTing. Another one's a little bit more specialist. Will take a little bit more care and attention on stuff.
You'll get a bill to back that up as well.
Yeah, with both garages, I've picked up a few little things that I'm not happy about, and I've raised them. But communication and having a relationship with these garages is really key, really key. And there's been times where I've said, "Look, I need to bring a car up now," and they go, "Come on, we'll get it on the ramp." And having those relationships will has really helped things. Will get you out the ship for one.
I think it's having relationships with all the different types of stuff that you're outsourcing. So that's bodywork, smart repairs, windscreens, whatever.
Yeah,
anything like that. Aircon.
Have you tried the corruption and bribery route so far?
Donuts,
food, biscuits, a bit of alcohol.
Donuts, yeah. Well, I would say that. If I had a box of alcohol here to give to the odd mechanic here, unfortunately, I look in the box and it's all gone. but no, it's no, keeping them sweet, keeping them happy, keeps us happy, keeps us. It just it just helps everything. Body shop guys. I think we've got 4 body shop guys we use. We've got 2 to 3 garages, and they're all local and they're all really nice guys.
And valeting, do you do that yourself?
Yeah, I do we do. We have had people on site do stuff. Now we tend to take them down the road, get them done by some guys down the road, or we'll do it ourselves.
Yeah.
So we'll do it ourselves. And that was a really big thing actually when we first started, because I wanted every car to be absolutely spanking clean. And I found myself constantly wanting every car to be clean. So as soon as it drove out the drive I'd be cleaning it and polishing it. And that was just I just lowered my standard there slightly, not so that, they look crap at all, but they still look, respectable. They look great. They smelt wonderful. They weren't damp. They didn't have the seatbelt rot or anything like that on them. So we just keep on top of it here.
I mean, I guess because you're appointment only, I assume. So,
well, what? Sorry,
you do everything by appointment. I take it.
Yeah.
So at least if customers come in, then you can give it a quick whiz over and.
Yeah. And usually everything here is ready to go. It's all other than stuff that's going through prep.
Yeah. What's the plan then? Because obviously now you said about your landlord giving you those extra spaces if you want them. Is the plan to get up to a stock of 20, 25 and,
Yeah, I think so. I think, there might be a case where we might say, all right, we'll pull some money back out of the business and we may use some stocking finance. I don't like debt, but I'm wondering if it can work. We might just have a look very carefully. It's all up and running, so we can use it. Whether we, and it's getting the right stock on the stocking finance, and just seeing, because we're still figuring out what stock to get and everything, and we still know. But so we'll look at that carefully. It's there ready for us to use. So
I would, because you're an advocate. We spoke about this in the Dealer Chat podcast on last week, actually, with Scott Sibley and Joe and quite a lot about the stocking, because we've never had it. But you're an advocate, aren't you, James? You use it quite handily.
Who do you use, James?
I use Nexia Capital.
That's who we're with.
So me personally, I'm a massive advocate of it for the plain and simple reason that the functionality of it is so efficient. But you have to know what you're doing. And if you are going to do it, obviously get as much information as you can. Obviously, we're quite local to each other. I'll help you whatever way I can to use the backroom system, because it's a Sopra system. And it tells you what's coming out your bank when it is. There's a bank calendar. And that's where a lot of people get caught out, is figuring out how much money is coming out your bank when. So for the people that don't know, when you settle a car off your stocking funding, it doesn't just come out your bank. It comes out your bank 2 days later. So also the charges, when they appear for using the facility, they come out at a later date as well. And it's just a case of keeping an eye on it and monitoring it. And it actually costs you less money if you use the facility entirely than it does if you use half of it. I know it sounds mental, but they penalise you for not using it. Obviously, at the moment, yours is empty, so that's fine. When you start using it, if you use half of it, it's actually less efficient than using all of it. It's more financially beneficial to go all in and use the facility for what you've paid for than it is to just half-ass it, which I don't recommend anyway. I don't recommend half-assing anything.
So would you say, James, if Sam's not 100% sure, A, that he wants or needs to use it, and also that he's not 100% sure of what his stock profile wants to be, is perhaps keep going by himself for another year then, because obviously it's all a bit unpredictable at the moment, isn't it? Getting a whole landscape for sort of a 12-month period, figuring out what sort of cars he wants to sell, and then once that's sort of figured out in your own head, Sam, you know, where you know exactly what sort of profile you want to go to, how much that's all going to cost you to fill your 20-car site or whatever, then, like James says, if it is better to use all your funding, then you know, well, look, I need to stock 20 cars and the value's going to be, they're going to be 25 grand each or 20 grand each. Now I can use it all because I know exactly what cars I'm going to be going for. And like, maybe I know, because you said at the start that you wanted to do things as fast as possible and try things, and stocking's quite a risky way.
Absolutely, yes.
Try it.
When it comes to getting into debt, which it is, in a way, whether you like it or not,
Because you can try it and it might not figure out quite the way you plan, and then you're in a bit of trouble. Whereas if you maybe just taking out a little bit of extra time to figure out exactly what you're going to want to sell, how much it's going to cost you to stock 20 spaces with that value of stock. Maybe there might be and then make the decision and say, well, yeah, great. I need £250,000 to go and fill that. Off we go, sort of thing.
I'm so glad you're here, Theo.
Me? Well, you said you liked my calmed.
We had this yin yang conversation. So obviously, like I was like, we're very different in the way that we function, and I'm super pleased that somebody's here to like. I've got a bit of I like to operate with 140 miles an hour with my head out the window. Like that is my life at the moment, and I enjoy it for as long as I can. And obviously, that Theo's here to be sort of like a devil's advocate, and with a non-rosy set of glasses, like. Me personally,
that
if
wasn't
you've got
negative.
that facility,
I just thought.
No, it's not negative at all. Like it's the complete opposite. Like I think sometimes you have to see it from both sides of the coin and make your own mind up with the information. Like I think what Sam's actually got here is he's got a pair of blokes that see it from both angles, and he's got the opportunity to make the decision himself, which is golden all by itself. Like me personally, from what I've seen Sam do between the 23rd of August and now is pretty incredible.
Yeah.
And
definitely.
I'm really impressed. And so you should be impressed with yourself, Sam, because it is fucking phenomenal. You can't sugarcoat that. If you're in a position where you've arranged stock funding and you're as confident in what you're doing as I am in what you've done, I'd be like, do you know what? I'm going to fill that thing up to the bollocks and I'm going to give it a go for 6 months. I've got the space. I've got the facility. I'm fucking excellent. Let's get after it. That's my opinion on it.
Hey, Jays, yes. I mean, absolutely. You know, so I mean, my view is dip my toe in it.
No toe dipping. It's full. It's got to be full send or not at all.
That's what I meant by my comment, really. I was like, well, James says you need to use the full facility. So if you're borrowing, I don't know how much next year are giving you, but if you go in, you're going up to the nuts, you know.
You can't put the tip in, mate. You've got to go all the way down to the balls.
All right, then. Well, I'll see you at Mannheim tomorrow.
That is the most financially viable. If you are going to do it, that's the most financially viable way of doing it.
What I've got to be careful of. I've got to be careful of my own limitations as well. So going from 10, 11, 12 cars to 25 cars. You know, sometimes if we go and buy 4 cars in a week, we are headless chickens for a few days. Prepping everything like that. That's why I'll do it. I don't think I could. I can't go and suddenly get another 15 cars. Half of them won't be up for sale for 3 weeks.
Yeah, that's not what you want if you've got stock in.
Have you got anyone that can help you? Like, obviously, I know you use your partner. She helps you out a lot.
Yeah, absolutely
Have
brilliant.
you got anyone that you can use on a impromptu basis for dropping you off deliveries and stuff?
Yeah, we have a lovely chap called Wayne who comes and helps us every now and then.
Everyone needs a Wayne.
Everyone needs a Wayne, and but yeah, it's finding good, nice, reliable people like Wayne who will come and help and do bits and bobs. And through YouTube, actually, I've had people contact me and say, "Look, I live down the road from you. If you ever need a hand or need a lift down to Mannheim, let me know." So, which is fantastic. And anyone watching this in the area, please do get in touch, because yes, as you can see, soon we will be looking to. I think we said Michelle and I said by Easter we want to be having 20 plus cars here, and we want to have a system where we can cope with it.
Yeah, because what you don't want is to be you spend your whole day running around. Well, we've actually got an extra valeter now, simply because the one guy who we promoted is running the valeting team. So we've got 3 in total, but he's one. But it means they can do all the running. They can do all the running around as well. So instead of me having to go to Hereford to the body shop to pick one up yesterday and drop one here at our other site and blah blah blah, they can do all that now. So I've got this, and it costs us an extra, however much an extra valeter costs for 12 months. But it's more the convenience of just having a system in place where I don't have to do so much.
I think an extra 10 cars a month would cover, I think realistically, monetary wise, you'd have to sell 1 extra vehicle a month to cover that one person. And it's just whether you're ready for that. I would say that if you do decide to lick the stamp and send it and use this facility, I would recommend that you at least have the infrastructure, maybe to take on a full-time person, valeter, driver, whatever, to maintain that.
Bloody hell, we actually agree wholeheartedly on some of them.
Have some of that done. We don't normally disagree. I think you need a selection of different opinions to make your own mind up. Like I think you can agree that I think Sam's educated enough to understand that there's 2 different opinions there, but there's also maybe somewhere in the middle that works out well for everybody. There's things that you should and you definitely shouldn't do. And like if you do go, and pull the pin, you probably need somebody there to support you throughout that journey. And it would be in the shape of a valeter driver person as an extra body, even if it's someone's just there to answer the phone or meet someone whilst you're nipping out and doing something, just to say hi. He's going to be back in a minute. That's
it's everything that comes with the extra. Increasing the stock's great if you've got the money. That's perfect, but it's not just. It's the time that comes into researching all that extra stock to buy. The time you wouldn't be able to buy all that from Mannheim probably, so you're going to have to look at different auctions or different avenues for buying your cars. You've then got,
or do it over the course of a couple of weeks.
And then of course it's all those extra cars to advertise as well. So it's not, and obviously you've got to have the time to sell the bloody things, as well as you've got to have someone there to sell them as well, haven't you? So I agree with James. It'd be good to have somebody, and it's not the most expensive thing in the world. If you're doubling your stock, it's not going to cost you that to employ somebody full time. So it's just that step. It's that step, isn't it?
Well, yeah, it is. It's a step which is on the doorstep. See what I mean? And it's the next stage, and it's about being comfortable what we can manage and what we've got at the moment, and we know how the business runs, so we're not flying into the next stage.
And it's as Chops always says. Obviously, he's perfectly capable of growing exponentially on his side, but doesn't want to because it doesn't suit his lifestyle and what he wants to do. So it's got to be what you want out of it.
He does advocate that he doesn't get on well with others, though.
Yeah, he does hate people.
I think we've covered like pretty much what we wanted to cover, and I sort of knew roughly how this conversation was going to go, because I have been watching Sam's journey, and I do watch a YouTube channel which I think is a great watch.
Yeah,
and please, for the love of God, carry on doing it, because it's proper British. It feels very like proper British humour. And I really enjoy it.
It's not taking it too seriously. Work hard and play hard. I think that's the moral of the channel, really.
Have you got anything?
Yeah.
Have you got anything you'd like anything else you'd want to say, Sam, or ask?
I do actually. I do have a couple of little sticking things. So I've got a couple of bits of stock which I've had around for bloody ages now, and I do not understand why they're not selling.
Which ones?
Well, it's the Ford Cougar. I have a feeling it's low. It's too low mileage for the age.
We'll speak after, because I'll buy that.
Thank you very much. How about the and also and also the other one is like the Kodiak that I've got there. Again, fantastic car, nothing wrong with it, brilliant condition. The Kodiak there is
15995. Is that the one?
what's the one?
Oh yeah, that's a local reg to me actually. Then
It doesn't really. It's not really getting the bites. So those are my two problematic cars at the moment.
I will tell you my opinion as to why you may have stuck with that one. And for future reference, if you're buying a vehicle and they do a 7-seat version of it, always buy the 7-seat version.
Really? Yeah, that's not 7-seater.
No, that's the first thing that came and I spotted straight away. So they're well renowned. They're a 5+2. They're the same as the Qashqai's. Like, you've got to be a midget to get in the back of it. There's no questions about it, or 6 years old. The back seats are tiny.
Yeah.
But like, realistically, the people that want to buy them as a family car, they have got 3, 4, 5-year-olds, and they're happy to chuck them in the boot.
And what they would do, James, and you probably agree with me, is if obviously I'm on Sam's website now, he's got the Karoq that's next to it that's only a year old and done like 15,000 more miles, but it's sort of nearly £4,000 cheaper. So if you want a car that's a family car, then you don't need 7 seats. Then you're going to buy that ahead of the Kodiak, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Karoq's only been on for 3-4 days actually.
Yeah.
They are super popular, these Karoq. They're super, super popular because I think they're about 8 or 9 insurance groups lower than the Kodiak, because the Kodiak is generally a 7-seater, but they slap the insurance bracket on anyway. So you'll pay a lot more for road tax, even though it's not a 7-seater, just because of the car that it is.
Do you make a big deal out of service history, Sam, when you're advertising them, or not particularly?
Well, we've just gone on to switch over to dealer kit, and literally in the last few weeks. So, I think a lot of these cars, I've still got to upload some of the service history in them. But yeah, obviously having the service history there is great. Doesn't always have to be a full service history.
No, I just think so for the Cougar example, obviously for an 18-plate Cougar, because it's done such low mileage, obviously the price is then elevated. So people then are looking, only because we do such low mileage cars, some sort of, it's in my wheelhouse, so to speak. But I would say that on the stuff that you are charging quite a bit of money for, because it is such low mileage, you are going to have the sort of customers who are very interested in having, proper service history, just because they know they're paying that bit extra for a car that's done a very low mileage in the first place.
Yeah. I think that has got full service history.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. So in the it's not in the write-up anywhere that I can see.
No, yeah, they're all being added this week, I think.
And also, James might agree with me on this as well. There's a lot of, I don't know when those pictures were taken, but they look a little bit out of season.
Oh yeah, well, that's me trying stuff again. So hang on, if I
just because because if you've had the car a little while, obviously I would always, if you've had the car for a bit, I wouldn't necessarily worry it's the price. I would have a look at your write-up. I would have a look at the photographs, make sure they're in the right season for when you're actually selling the car. You have a car in August and all the trees are blooming and everything, and then and it's December and people think, oh, hang on, this has been around for
you can see the difference in the foliage behind the Cougar and the Kodiak.
Yeah.
So twice, Theo, twice in one day. Something like that.
We must know something sometimes, possibly.
Yeah. Somewhere along the line, we know what we're doing.
So before you go hacking the price, I would check that the advert's written, making the best out of what it's got in terms of history and whatever, and then have a crack at redoing the photos. Do you do a walk around video with them?
I will. I will be doing a walk around videos and stuff. Yes, I will. I've got my dad. My dad passed away last month. He was a photographer, and I've got all his camera equipment here. I mean, he's got some pretty hardcore stuff.
Yeah, you don't need. I mean, I do a walk around on every car, and I just use that, and it's 5 minutes. So I freewheel it. So I just have a look at the spec sheet first, just so I know what history and whatever, and then I just freewheel it.
I will say, Sam, for your benefit, if you are going to copy anybody's style of video walk round, if you get the opportunity to watch one of Theo's video walk rounds, they are fantastic.
I will.
And that's if I was buying a car, that's the kind of video walk round that I would want. So that if you are going to steal anyone's information or share it as we do, because we're wonderful people, that is where I would share it from.
Thank you.
So if you get the opportunity, and I'm sure like if you have a chat afterwards about the Ford Cougar, then that's where you could probably exchange it. But for the kind of vehicles that you're selling, they're worthy of a solid video walk round.
Yeah, no, they're definitely. I totally know that. Yeah, I totally know that.
I think you are definitely missing a trick there. That's the trifecta there, Theo. So 3 in one day, boss. So we're going to be doing some weird Star Wars signs in a minute if we don't fucking take this to an end.
No, I just think if someone, because the sort of person you're going to have locally will be quite happy with something that's 50, 60,000 miles. If you're looking something that's a little bit niche, so someone will be out there looking for a very low mileage petrol Cougar. They're probably going to want to travel. They're probably not going to be in your locality. So if you've got that video there and you've got pictures that are bang up to date and you've got all the details of the history, it just gives them, they're going to be more enthusiastic about traveling a couple of hours or whatever to kind of.
So, Theo, do you reckon that Cougar, you'd be able to sell that Cougar at that price?
Let me just talk amongst yourselves for a sec. I'll just have a look on the Bible.
Oh, we can talk about that later. But
yeah, I would think if it doesn't look out of the way. I don't know what the Auto Trader retail is on it, but
I think it's up at great price at the moment.
Yeah, so I mean, to be honest, I'd probably have it up at more than realistically. Yeah, but yeah, it is. I think on the stuff that's a little bit specialist, not specialist because it's not specialist car, but a little bit niche in terms of the mileage, something that's a bit out there. Then having walk around videos will help you on all cars, not just for. That's something that I would definitely say.
Yeah. I have been thinking the last week how to do my walk rounds and
just get the information in your head, have a quick look at your spec sheet or whatever, and then just because you're bloody good on camera, so just freewheel it. Don't make it too long. You don't be dribbling on for days about because people will switch off. But 4 or 5 minutes, out round the outside, round the inside, give them a bit of story where the car came from or the history and whatnot.
I've just looked on Cap HPI and I'd probably say that vehicle's underpriced.
Yeah, I reckon it's probably getting on for 13 grand worth, I would say.
Yeah. That's what it said here. 13,495.
Not one inquiry.
It might be too cheap. That's another thing as well. Like a lot of people,
yeah,
if
absolutely.
you put a vehicle on and it's too cheap, that can be as damaging as too expensive.
Because if you've got that car at 12,250 and there's a load of cars on Auto Trader that have done 50,000, 60,000 at the same money, people are either going to think it's had a haircut or they're going to think that it's potentially not in as good a condition that it is because hence the money. So there's a few different. I mean, there's no rhyme or reason to a lot of why some cars don't sell, and you can overthink it. But I would just have a look at a couple of bits, and I'm sure that'll help.
Yeah, fantastic. Right, well, I'm going to draw this to a close because we have done exceptionally well. We've discussed many, many things. So please, Sam, tell us where we can find you and what's next.
So you can find me at familycarguy.co.uk. That's the website. You can have a look through all the gear and pick out all my typos and everything. And then if you fancy a bit of a giggle, then you can go and look at What's on Court
on YouTube. That one is, yeah. And also as well on the website, we're going to be seeing some fantastic video walk rounds coached by Theo.
Absolutely, yeah. And you won't be seeing that Ford Cougar there very shortly.
We won't be seeing it. It's been gone, like fantastic. So,
but yeah, on the channel, not only do I do car stuff, but there's also a bit of cooking. There's a few pub visits. There's all sorts of other stuff. So not just solely car stuff. But
Make sure you do film this fantastic pub that you're going to on the A3.
Bedford Arms, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I'd like to see it.
job done. Right, well, thanks ever so much, gents. I'm going to call it a day, and I will catch up with you next time.
Cheers, guys.
Take care, chaps. Thanks very much.